Maurice by E.M. Forster. Dramatised by Philip Osmond. Episode 1.
Come on, Hall. Let's walk down to the sea. I want to talk to you.
Yes, sir.
How old are you?
14 3/4, sir.
Ah, you're just becoming a man now, Hall. I'm going to talk to you as if I were your father. I shall call you by your real name, Maurice.
Yes, sir.
You live with your mother, don't you?
Yes, sir.
Have you any elder brothers?
No, sir. Only my sisters, Ada and Kitty.
Any uncles?
No, just our neighbour, Dr. Barry.
So you don't know many men?
Mother keeps a coachman. And George in the garden.
Once a term, the whole school went for a walk. Lest discipline should suffer, it took place just before the holidays, when leniency does no harm. Mr. Ducey, the senior master, always had something on his mind. On this occasion, it was Hall, one of the older boys, who was leaving them to go to public school.
It's not a thing your mother can tell you, Maurice. I want to talk to you about the great mystery of the male and the female, who were created by God in order that the earth might be peopled. Have you heard about it before?
No, sir.
You see, when two people become man and wife, they lie together, and the man...
Yes, sir.
Maybe if I use my walking stick to illustrate the process in the sand. Now, this is the man, and when he lies with his wife, his member becomes elongated like so. Now, this is the female genitalia. The pubis here, and the vagina here. And the man...
Maurice was attentive, as was natural when he was the only one in the class. He knew that the subject was serious and related to his own body. But he could not himself relate to it.
And then the spermatozoa fertilizes the ovum, and the child is conceived.
Yes, sir. I see.
All this is rather a bother, but one must get it over. One mustn't make a mystery of it. Then come the great things. Love. Life, you see.
Yes, sir.
You know, I'm engaged myself, and to love a noble woman, to protect and serve her, this is the crown of life.
I think I shall not marry.
Oh. Come on, Maurice. Let's rejoin the others. This day, 10 years hence, I invite you and your wife to dinner with my wife and me.
Ma, this way.
Oh, good heavens. Quick.
What, sir?
I never scratched out those infernal diagrams. Come on.
Sir, won't it be all right? The tide's rising.
Oh, thank God. Yes. Come on, Hall.
Look, Mama.
Oh, come away, child.
Maurice's mother lived near London, in a comfortable villa among some pines.
Maurice!
Hello, Ada.
Mother Kitty, Maurice is home. We heard the train. Take your coat off, Maurice. Leave it there. For Betty, she'll pick it up. Mother! She's counting the vegetables. Dr. Barry's coming tonight.
Is George there?
George isn't with us anymore.
Maury, darling! Look at my tomatoes. Aren't they wonderful? Oh, your father would have been so proud to see you going off to his old school. Growing up to be like him in every way. Tomatoes, radishes, broccoli, onions.
Mother, where's George?
He left last week.
Why did he leave?
Oh, he was getting too old. Howell changes the garden boy every 2 years.
Oh.
Turnip tops, potatoes again, beetroot. Maury? What's wrong? My pet. What is it?
I don't know.
Maury, darling, come back.
What's wrong with him?
Maury?
How do, Master Maurice?
Oh, hello, Howell.
We heard the train.
Isn't it a new garden boy?
It is.
Was George too old?
No, Master Maurice, he wanted to better himself.
You mean he gave notice?
That's right. My poor woodstacks will be glad not to have you two playing about in them.
They're Mother's wood stacks, not yours.
Yes, Master.
Later that night, Dr. Barry, the Hall's old friend and neighbour, climbed into bed beside his wife after a rather dull evening spent in the company of Maurice and his mother.
Oh, no one can be deeply interested in the Halls. I like Kitty, She has some hints of grit about her. Shame she was in bed. Maurice ought to have been in bed too, stopped there all his life, as he will, like his father. What is the use of such people?
When Maurice did go to bed, it was reluctantly.
Night-night, my little man.
Night, Mother.
Total darkness he could bear, but this room had the defect of being opposite a street lamp, and blots, like skulls, fell over the furniture. As he opened his eyes to look whether the blots had got smaller, something stirred in the unfathomable depths of his heart.
George.
Who was George? Nobody, just a common servant. But when he yielded to his sorrow, he overcame the spectral and fell asleep. George, the garden boy, jumping naked over the woodstacks, appeared to Maurice in a recurring dream he had while at public school. But just as they came together, he would disappear. A second dream is more difficult to convey. Nothing happened. He scarcely saw a face, scarcely heard a voice.
This is your friend.
Case Hall.
This is your friend.
Hall. Dreaming again. 100 lines.
Sir. Oh, dative absolute.
Too late.
And so he rose from form to form till he clung precariously to the 6th and became a prefect and a member of the first 15.
You boys, stop running!
Sorry, Hall.
What's your name?
Barry.
Dickie Barry.
Yes.
So you're Dr. Barry's nephew?
Yes.
Father died, didn't he?
Yes. From his war wounds.
Come on, Barry, nobody likes a milksop.
Yes, Hall.
Go on, I'm not going to punish you this time.
Do you think maybe...
What?
Well, sometimes it gets awfully lonely here. I wondered whether you'd sometimes come over and see me at the end of prep before dawn.
It's not the thing, Barry, it can't be done.
No, of course.
Scram, you'll be late for chapel.
Got a new admirer, Hall?
Don't talk rot, Chapman, neighbour's nephew. He asked me to keep an eye on him.
Just ragging you.
Chapman, wondered if we could look at the Greek translation together. Finding it a bit of a stinker.
No time, old chap.
No. Of course.
This is your friend.
He was nearly 19. He stood on the platform on Prize Day, reciting a Greek oration of his own composition in praise of war.
Well done, darling.
Congratulations, Maurice, on your triumph. Overwhelming. I drink to it in this cup of extremely nasty tea. So, the next stage in your triumphal career is Cambridge, eh?
So they say, Dr. Barry.
And what do you say?
I don't know.
And after Cambridge, what? Stock exchange?
I suppose so. My father's old partner talks of letting me in if all goes well.
And after you're let in by your father's old partner, what then? A pretty wife, eh? Will present the expectant world with a Maurice the Third. After which old age, grandchildren, and finally the daisies. So that's your notion of a career. Well, it isn't mine.
What is your notion, Doctor?
Oh, to help the weak and to right the wrong, my dear Kitty.
I'm sure that's all our notions.
Oh, no, Mrs. Hall, it's not. It's not consistently mine, or I should be looking after my nephew Dickie instead of lingering on this scene of splendour.
Poor Dickie, he must so miss his father.
Yes. War did not render my brother robust by exercising his limbs, as Maurice supposes. He got a shell in the stomach.
Tragic.
So, Maurice, who was the handsome woman who shook your hand so warmly?
My housemaster's wife.
A youth irresistible in love as in war, eh?
I don't know what you mean, Dr. Barry.
I should thank her for being so kind to you. Come, Kitty. Ada.
Oh, you young fellows. Butter wouldn't melt in your mouth these days. Don't know what I mean. Be frank, man, be frank. No, you don't take anyone in, Maurice. The frank mind is the pure mind.
Maurice chose a college patronised by his friend Chapman and others from their school.
Hall!
Hello there, Chapman.
The Dean's invited us to lunch. He says he's invited a chap from Trinity who's his relative. Terrible fellow. Affected. Never stops talking.
Conversation is my forte. It's the only thing I care about. You say deeds are more important than words, but I believe just the opposite, Chapman. Will you ever forget that you've met me? I think not. Neither will your silent friend here. You may forget this cutlet, but you will not forget me.
You confuse what is important with what makes an impression.
Not so, Dean. The cutlet influences your subconscious lives, now you're conscious. And so I am not only more impressive than the cutlet, but more important. Your Dean here, who dwells in medieval darkness and wishes you to do the same, pretends that only the subconscious, only the part of you that can be touched without your knowledge is important. Daily he drops soporific.
Shut up.
But I am a child of light.
Are you serious?
Hall speaks. He descends from Olympian heights of silence to grace us with his words. Hurrah! Everything I say is serious. Are you serious?
Don't ask me.
Then talk until you become so.
It's all rubbish.
Yes.
What do you think, Hall?
Oh, leave him alone. Chapman, what are our chances in the match against Keyes?
A few months earlier, Maurice would have held the same opinion of Risley as Chapman, but now he was sure that the man had an inside, and he wondered whether he should see more of him.
Gates are closing, sir. Are you a Trinity man?
I'm visiting someone.
I see. What's the gentleman's name?
Risley.
Ah, Mr. Risley. Yes. He's straight across the court, that stairway there in the corner, ground floor at the end of the passage.
Thank you.
Be careful.
Pardon?
That passage is unlighted.
Come in. Mr. Risley's out, I'm afraid. Oh, hello, Hall.
Durham.
You visiting Risley?
Where is he?
I don't know.
It's nothing. I'll go.
Are you going back to college?
I suppose so, if Risley's not here. Wasn't anything in particular.
Wait a second. I'll come with you. Sorting out the Pathetic Symphony. I can't find the march, sorry.
All right.
I'm borrowing them to play on Fanshaw's pianola. Risley's an amazing chap. But all the same, a little of him goes a long way.
You don't mind borrowing his things?
Oughtn't I to?
I'm only ragging.
Oh. I see.
What is it you want?
The march out of the Pathétique.
There's nothing to me. You like this style of music?
I do.
Good waltz is more my style.
Mine too. The other movement might be in that pile over by the window. Shan't be long.
I must go now.
All right, I'll stop.
Maurice was in no hurry, but his heart, which had never stopped beating quickly, impelled him to go. Beaten and lonely, he went. The stars blurred. The night had turned to rain.
You weren't long with Mr. Risley?
He wasn't in.
I see, sir. Good night.
Paul! Hang on! Thank you, Porter.
Got your march?
No, I thought I'd come along with you instead.
On reaching their own college, they went straight to Fanshaw's room, for there was time to try a little music over before 11 o'clock.
I didn't know you were one of the aesthetes, Hall.
I'm not. I want to hear what they're up to.
Isn't this the 5/4? Why didn't you start with the first movement, Durham?
It's nearer waltzes.
You ought to be this end. Look at you both crouching together. You should get away from the machine as far as you can.
Huh. I like it. Would you mind playing it again if Fanshawe doesn't mind?
Oh, yes, do, Durham. It's a jolly thing.
A movement isn't like a separate piece. You can't repeat it.
11 struck, and Fanshawe made them tea. He and Durham were to be taking the same tripos examinations and talked shop. Maurice saw that Durham was not only clever, but had a tranquil and orderly brain. He was quick to spot falsities in Fanshaw's arguments. What hope for Maurice, who was nothing but falsities?
I'm going. Good night.
Oh, well, don't you want this tea?
No, need my kip.
Oh.
Good night, Hall.
He regretted his haste as soon as he was outside the door. He settled to wait, not on the staircase itself, for this struck him as absurd, but somewhere between its foot and Durham's own room. He went and located Durham's room, even knocking on the door. He studied furniture and pictures in the firelight. Then he took his stand on a sort of bridge in the courtyard. With his pipe in his mouth, Maurice hoped that it wouldn't rain.
See you at the lecture.
It was the moment he had waited for, but he found himself strolling away. The opportunity was passing.
Good night.
Hall. Taking a stroll before bed?
I generally do. You don't want any more tea, I suppose?
Do I? No. Bit late for tea. I suppose you can come and have whiskey if you like.
They began to see a little of one another. Durham asked him to lunch, and Maurice asked him back, but not too soon. All his actions that October term might be described in the language of battle. He spied out Durham's weaknesses as well as his strength. He never thought of tenderness or emotion. Durham didn't dislike him, he was sure. That was all he wanted. One thing at a time.
Hall, I nearly wrote a letter to you in the vac.
That's so?
I've been having a rotten time.
What went wrong? Can you keep down the Christmas pudding?
We've had a bust-up on the religious question.
Who is it?
Only me, old fellow. How's your vac?
Sorry, Chairman, we're fixing something.
Oh, right. See you then. Hello, Durham.
Hello. You needn't have done that. Any time would do for my rot. I don't want to worry you with my beliefs, or rather with their absence, but to explain the situation. I must tell you that I'm unorthodox. I'm not a Christian.
Oh. Belief's a difficult question.
I know, it isn't about that. It's about the way my mother took it. I told her 6 months ago, and she didn't mind. She just said, "Oh yes, you'll be wiser when you're as old as me," which was quite mild. Now it's all come up again.
Why?
You're supposed to receive Holy Communion 3 times a year, you know?
Of course.
And at Christmas it came round and I said I wouldn't. She asked me to do it just this once to please her, then got cross, said I would damage her reputation as well as my own. We're the local squires and the neighbourhood's uncivilised.
So did you go?
Where?
To church?
No, I didn't go to church, Hall. I thought that was plain.
I'm sorry. Don't you believe in the Trinity?
Humbug, all of it.
I care a lot about it.
You care a lot about rugger.
I wish you'd stop jumping around. Come on, come and sit down on the rug. I didn't mean to offend you.
Have you known Chapman long?
Here and at school? 5 years?
Oh. Give me a cigarette. Put it in my mouth. Thanks. You see, you mentioned that you had a mother and 2 sisters, which is exactly my allowance. And all through the row, I kept wondering what you would have done in my position.
Your mother must be very different to mine.
I'm sick with her. That's what I want your help about.
She'll come round.
I despise her. There. I've told you what no one else in the world knows. Tell me about your home life.
Nothing to tell. We just go on.
Lucky devils.
I don't know about that. Was your vac really beastly, Durham?
Absolute hell.
You're not ragging?
No. Ow, stop pulling my hair.
What did your sister say about Holy Communion?
One's married to a clergyman. No, that hurts.
Absolute hell, eh?
Stop it, Hall. I never knew you were a fool. The other's engaged to Archibald London, Esquire, over the... Ow! Shut up! I'm going.
Well, why don't you go if you're going?
Because you won't let me.
No, I won't. I'm going to roll you up in the hearthrug.
Stop it! No!
And I'm going to put your head in the waste bucket where it belongs.
There was nothing but ragging for many days after that. At last, Durham got tired. Being the weaker, he was hurt sometimes, and his chairs had been broken. Maurice felt the change at once. His coltishness passed, but they had become demonstrative during it. They walked arm in arm or arm around shoulder now. When they sat, it was nearly always in the same position. Maurice in a chair and Durham at his feet, leaning against him. In the world of their friends, this attracted no notice. Maurice would stroke Durham's hair. Towards the end of term, they touched upon a yet more delicate subject than communion or the Trinity.
How dare the Dean tell us not to translate that passage? Did you hear what he said?
I did.
Omit the reference to the unspeakable vice of the Greeks. Ought to lose his fellowship for such hypocrisy. The Greeks, or most of them, were that way inclined, and to omit it is to omit the mainstay of Athenian society.
Was that so?
You've read the Symposium?
Not yet.
It's all there. Not meat for babes, of course, but you ought to read it. Read it, this vac.
There was a Don at Cambridge that your father talked about. Wasn't he called Durham?
No, Mother, he was called Cumberland.
Oh, so he was.
Oh, Mother.
Mother, I wanted a word.
Well, I was going to see if Betty has put the sheets on the bed in the guest room. Gladys Alcott's arriving this evening.
The girls can do that.
I haven't finished my breakfast.
Kitty, come on, Kitty. I'm sure you'll like Gladys Alcott, Maury. She was so kind to Ada and I when we stayed at the Hydro. Well, what is it, darling?
I wanted to let you know that I won't be attending church any longer. Of course, I'll always respect your religious prejudices.
Prejudices?
But my conscience won't allow me to join you. I really cannot believe in the Trinity any longer.
Well, that's very sad.
I knew you'd be upset, but I can't help it, Mother. I'm made that way.
Miss Alcott, when she arrived, was charming. At least the women said so. And so he took to paying her attentions. It seemed the proper thing to do.
You've ripping hair, you know.
Please, don't.
I mean it. Listen, it's your last day tomorrow. I thought maybe I could take you out in a sidecar. There's a particularly lovely spot I'd like to show you.
I did say I'd spend the day with Ada.
There. Isn't that lovely?
It is.
Not as lovely as this little hand, though.
Mr. Hall, please, don't be silly.
But Miss Alcott. Gladys.
I mean, don't be silly. I'm not saying it to make you sillier.
I don't understand.
I just... Oh, I feel it's all an act, Mr. Hall. I don't...
I'd rather die than offend.
I'm awfully sorry.
Gladys.
Oh, Gladys, you're back early.
Mother, Gladys is back.
Has there been an accident?
No.
Where's Maurice?
I came on the train. It gave me a headache riding in that sidecar, and I got a dust in my eye.
Oh, he's so inconsiderate.
Except for this incident, the vac passed pleasantly. Maurice did some reading, following his friend's advice rather than his tutor's. And he also called on his father's old business partner. It was settled that when he left Cambridge, he should enter the firm. Maurice was stepping into the niche that England had prepared for him. Next term, Durham came up a few days late. He had not been well.
Durham. Have you been all right?
Have you?
No.
Anything to do with that girl?
No.
You wrote that you liked her.
No, I didn't. I don't. Oh, God.
Whoa! Whoa!
What is it?
Can we come up?
Of course.
Oh, we'll have some with Mother's fruitcake.
I'm going.
Durham.
Oh, we want tin cake.
Maurice was drawn into the conversation and scarcely noticed his friend's departure. It had been an ordinary talk, he told himself, but too sentimental. He cultivated a breeziness against their next meeting.
Durham. We're going to the theatre. Care to join us?
No thanks.
Please yourself.
Maurice.
What is it?
You read the symposium in the VAC, didn't you? So I don't have to explain.
How do you mean?
Paul! Are you coming?
I love you.
Oh, rot!
Paul!
Durham, you're an Englishman. I'm not offended because I know you don't mean it, but it's beyond the limit, as you well know. Worst crime in the calendar. Rotten notion. Durham!
Durham, don't forget we're playing tennis on Saturday. Where's he off to in such a hurry?
Let's go.
A slow nature such as Maurice's appears insensitive, for it needs time even to feel. Thus it was that his agony began as a slight regret, but sleepless nights and lonely days intensified it into a frenzy that consumed him.
Right. Why don't you partner Durham, Hall? I'll play with Fanshawe.
Fine.
I shall be obliged if you will not mention my criminal morbidity to anyone, Hall. Best if we behave as if nothing has happened and only speak if we're in company.
Durham, I didn't...
Come on then, Chapman.
That evening Maurice went to bed as usual, but as he laid his head on the pillows, a flood of tears oozed from it. As the term went on, he decided to speak to Durham. He made several attempts, but partly through his own shyness, partly through Durham's unwillingness, they failed. Then, one night, after a debating society, he went and sat in Durham's rooms.
You're beastly hard. You don't know what it is to have a mind in a mess, and it makes you very hard. You might give me a chance instead of avoiding me for weeks. I only want to discuss.
We've discussed the whole evening.
I mean the symposium. Like the ancient Greeks.
Oh, Hall, don't be so stupid. You ought to know that being alone with you hurts me. It's over. If you don't mind, I'm going to get ready for bed. Forgive this discourtesy, but I simply can't. My nerves are no-how after 3 weeks of this.
So am I.
Poor chap.
Durham, I'm in hell!
Oh, you'll get out. It's only the hell of disgust. You've never done anything to be ashamed of, so you don't know what's really hell. Good night. What's the matter? You appear to want to apologise for something. Why? What have you done wrong? You've been thoroughly decent from first to last.
No.
So decent that I mistook your ordinary friendship for something else. I am more sorry than I can ever say. I had no right to move out of my books and music. It is a lasting grief to have insulted you.
But you have...
So that's an end to it. Get married quickly and forget the whole thing, Hall.
Durham, I love you. I do. I always have.
Good night, Hall.
I tell you I do. I came to say it. In your very own way. I've always been like the Greeks and didn't know.
Hall, don't be grotesque.
But it's not...
It's very like the decent fellow that you are to comfort me, but there are limits.
I'm not grotesque!
I shouldn't have said that. I'm thankful it's into your hands I fell. Most men would have reported me to the Dean or the police.
Go to hell! It's all you're fit for!
Furious, Maurice stood on the bridge in a night that resembled the first, drizzly with faint stars. Savage, reckless, drenched with rain, Maurice saw in the first glimmer of dawn the window of Durham's room. His heart leapt. "You love and are loved," it cried. "You are strong and he weak and alone." He took hold of the mullion and sprang to the place where Clive slept, and where Maurice's image visited him in his dreams.
Maurice. Clive.
Who? Maurice. Maurice. Oh, Maurice.
I know.
Maurice, I love you.
You.
They kissed, scarcely wishing it. Then Maurice vanished as he had come, through the window.
I've missed 2 lectures already.
Maurice, the Dean won't be pleased.
Oh, he'll only gate me. Come on. Come out in the sidecar.
Yes, but a long way. I can't stick Cambridge in this weather. Let's get right outside it, ever so far, and bathe. I can work as we go along.
Meet me in the garage in 20 minutes. Bring your putrid books. Oh, bring some lunch too.
Oh, Lord, there's the Dean!
Oh, haven't you a lecture? I haven't slept! Oh, stop when I speak!
No use arguing! Not the least! Now we'll go to hell!
The machine was powerful. It leapt forward into the fens and the receding dome of the sky. They cared for no one. They were outside humanity. And death, had it come, would only have continued their pursuit of a retreating horizon.
Blast! Let's eat.
They ate on a grassy embankment.
I suppose I ought to work.
He spread out his books and was asleep in 10 minutes. Maurice lay by the water, smoking. When Clive awoke, it was past 3.
I shall want some tea soon.
All right. Can you mend that bloody bike?
Oh, yes. Didn't something jam? How if we left it and walked?
Grandpa would have a fit. He gave it to me against my coming of age in August. You'll get me into trouble.
No, get off. Maurice! Stop it! Well...
Yes.
Better get going.
I suppose.
Get off me, then.
The station was 5 miles on. When they reached it, the sun was low. All this last part of the day was perfect. They were not back in Cambridge until after Hall. When they parted, it was in an ordinary way.
Good night.
Good night.
The whole day had been ordinary, yet it had never come before to either of them, nor was it ever to be repeated.
Yesterday, you cut chapel, 4 lectures, including my own translation class, and hall. Durham has tripos. I won't have him distracted by... A man of his station has responsibilities. You will go down and inform your mother of the reason. I shall inform her too. Until you write me a letter of apology, I shall not recommend your readmission to the college in October. Catch the 12 o'clock.
It's rotten of him. If he thinks I'm apologising, he's going to have a long wait.
I'll write.
I can't apologise, Mother. I explained last night there's nothing to apologise about. They had no right to send me down. Everyone cuts lectures. Ada, do try turning on the coffee instead of the salt water.
Maurice, you've upset Mother. How can you be so unkind and brutal?
I'm sure I don't mean to be. I shall go straight into the business now like Father did without taking one of their rotten degrees. I see no harm in that.
Don't mention your poor father. He never had any unpleasantness. Oh, Maury, my darling, we did so look forward to Cambridge. And to lose your grandpapa's motorcycle as well.
All this crying's a mistake. It only makes Maurice think he's important, which he isn't. He'll write to the Dean as soon as no one wants him to.
I shan't, Kitty. It's unsuitable.
I don't see that.
Little girls don't see a great deal.
I see a lot more than some little boys who think themselves little men.
The Durhams lived in a remote part of England on the Wilts and Somerset border. Though not an old family, they had held land for 4 generations, and its influence had passed into them. The house lay amongst woods. A park, still ridged with the lines of vanished hedges, stretched around, giving light and air and pasture to horses and Alderney cows.
Not that way, old chap. That's the back door.
Oh, I see.
Tea, very bitter, was awaiting the guests, and Mrs. Durham looked one way while she poured out the other.
Clive, does Mr. Hall know his room?
The blue room, Mother.
Oh, dear.
They went up a side staircase. Maurice saw the main flight and wondered whether he was being slighted. His room was small, furnished cheaply, and had no outlook.
What's through there?
Our study with my room off that.
Oh, I see. That's why.
We're up this staircase by ourselves, like college. I arranged it on purpose.
It's better.
Maurice, you've actually come. This place will never seem the same again. I shall love it at last.
It's jolly for me coming.
I shall kiss you.
Oh.
Come in.
Hot water, sir.
Over there. Except for meals, we need never be in the other part of the house.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
After dinner, the men smoked, then joined the ladies. These people had the air of settling something. They either had just arranged or would rearrange England. Yet the gateposts, the roads, Maurice had noticed them on the way up, were in bad repair, and the timber wasn't kept properly. The windows stuck. The boards creaked.
Maurice, you look sleepy.
Oh, yes.
5 minutes afterwards, they met again in the study, with all the night to talk into.
I'll tell you my latest now. As soon as I got home, I had a row with Mother and told her I should stop up a 4th year.
Oh, no.
What's wrong?
I've been sent down.
But you're coming back in October.
I'm not. The dean said I must apologise and I wouldn't. Thought you wouldn't be up, so I didn't care.
And I settled to stop because I thought you would be up. Comedy of errors.
Oh.
Comedy, not tragedy. You can apologise now.
Well, it's too late.
No, it makes it simpler. You didn't like to apologise until the term in which your offence was committed had come to an end. I'll draft the letter tomorrow.
Clive, you're a devil.
I'm a bit of an outlaw, I grant, but it serves these people right. As long as they speak of the unspeakable vice of the Greeks, they can't expect fair play.
I'll apologise.
What made you wake me up that night?
I kept thinking of something to say, and I couldn't. So, at last I couldn't even think. So I just came.
What about the night I first told you how I felt? Why did you make us so unhappy?
I don't know. I was still in a muddle.
Hadn't you been getting hold of me for months? Since that night at Risley's, in fact.
What was it in me you first cared about?
Your beauty.
My what?
Beauty. Like that man in the Michelangelo over the bookcase. Look.
I think you're beautiful, since you brought it up. The only beautiful person I've ever met. I love your voice and everything to do with you, down to your clothes or the room you're sitting in. I adore you.
Let's change the subject.
I didn't mean to annoy you at all.
Those things must be said once, I suppose, or we should never know they were in each other's hearts.
And their love scene drew out until the sparrows woke in the eaves above them, and far out in the woods the doves began to coo.
Time for bed.
Yes.
Will you kiss me?
Clive shook his head, and smiling they parted, having established perfection in their lives, at all events for a time.
Mr. Hall, we wish you to help us. Clive thinks so much of you. Do you consider it wise for him to stop a 4th year up at Cambridge?
He means to.
This place is his, did he tell you?
No.
Oh, Penge is his, absolutely, under my husband's will. I must move to the Dower House as soon as he marries.
I see.
Your response makes me think he might have other reasons to want a 4th year at Cambridge.
Really?
Some girl, perhaps? But what would it profit him? He has to take his place here in the countryside. There's the game, the tenants, and the politics, of course. His father represented the division in Parliament. He was a member for 7 years, as you doubtless know.
No.
What does he talk to you about? Mr. Hall, is there anyone? Some Newnham girl? Pippa swears there is.
They like you. But I hate the way they combine worldliness with a complete ignorance of the world. So narrow. Those children will be a nuisance.
What children?
Mine. The need for an heir to Penge. That's what she was thinking of. They've always some girl staying at the house. Let's go down in the bracken. He used to come here as a boy and lie looking up at the sky.
Whatever you say about your mother...
What?
She might have her faults, but at least she's done her part. Handed on the torch for the next generation.
Why children? Why always children?
Yes, but if everyone was like us...
Maurice, for love to end where it begins is far more beautiful, and nature knows it.
Oh, Clive.
No, Maurice, don't. Love, passionate but temperate.
But I so want to
touch them.
Oh, it's you, sir. Saw the horses and I wondered...
We're fine, heirs.
Yes, sir.
Damn fool crashing in on us.
For the next 2 years, they had as much happiness as men under that start can expect. They had their last year at Cambridge together. They travelled in Italy. Then the prison house closed on both of them. Clive was working for the bar, Maurice harnessed to an office. But they were together still. Every Wednesday he slept at Clive's little flat in town. Weekends were also inviolable. Clive got through his bar exams successfully, but just before he was called, he had a slight touch of influenza. Thus they saw little of one another for several weeks, and when they did meet, Clive was still white and nervy. He came down to the halls, hoping that the good food and quiet would set him up.
Mother. But it must be terribly interesting work, Mr. Durham.
I'm a barrister, Ada, because I may enter public life. Why should I enter public life? Who wants me?
But your mother says the country does.
I've talked to more people than my mother, and they're weary of us leisured classes coasting around in motor cars and asking for something to do. No one wants us, or anything, except a comfortable home.
But to give a comfortable home's what public life is.
Is or ought to be, Kitty?
Well, it's all the same.
Is and ought to be are not the same. You ought not to be interrupting Mr. Durham, whereas you...
Is?
Very quiet, Maurice.
Oh, I was just thinking about this chap on the train. Sits in the same place every day. Well, on Monday, there was this other chap who was sitting in his seat, and the chap whose seat it was...
Which chap is that chap?
I'll be quiet, Ada. Oh, where was I?
The chap whose seat it was.
Oh, yes.
I say.
Clive?
I think I'll go to faint.
Get a pillow, Kitty. Ada, eau de cologne. On, I'll loosen his collar. Mother, fan him.
Oh, dear.
No, fan him.
Silly it is. No. I'm all right now.
Here we are. Betty's got a damp cloth.
Leave me, I can walk.
Certainly not. Morris will carry you. Mr. Durham, put your arms round Morris.
Come along, old man. The doctor, somebody telephone.
Our telephone.
Morris, I'm a fool.
Be a fool.
I can't be ill. I'm going to Greece.
We'll see about that.
Upstairs, Maurice undressed Clive and put him to bed.
The doctor's on his way.
Mother, you needn't tell the others that I kissed Durham.
Oh, certainly not.
He wouldn't like it. I was rather upset and I did it without thinking.
I brought a hot water bottle. Shall I take it in?
I'll take it.
The doctor's here!
This way! Come out, Jowett. He's had influenza and he's supposed to be well. Result is he's fainted and can't stop crying.
Yeah, well, we all know about that. Has he been working hard?
Yes. And now he wants to go to Greece.
Ah, well, so he shall. No, you clear out now. I'll see you downstairs.
Maurice obeyed, convinced that Clive was seriously ill. Jowett followed in about 10 minutes and told Mrs. Hall it was nothing much. In tones that admitted no argument, Maurice told his mother he should sleep in the room. He would not have a bed taken in, lest Clive woke up, but lay down on the floor and read by the rays of a candle.
Want anything?
My inside's all wrong.
I'll carry you to the night store.
I can walk. You mustn't do this sort of thing.
You do it for me.
Afterwards, Maurice carried the stool down the passage and cleaned it.
You mustn't.
Doesn't worry me.
It's too filthy.
Get off to sleep again.
The doctor told me he'd send a nurse.
What do you want with a nurse? It's only a touch of diarrhea. You can keep on all night as far as I'm concerned.
What about your work?
I'd rather chuck the office and look after you myself. I thought you'd rather. If you'd rather have a nurse.
I'd better have the nurse.
Perhaps you're right.
It was plain after a few days that nothing was amiss with the visitor, and no one except Maurice felt the least uneasiness.
But I'll be worried about you going off to Greece. It's September.
It must be done.
On the evening of his departure, Clive had the whole of the Hall family to dine with him at the Savoy, as a return for their kindness to him.
Oh, we shall know what it is if you fall over this time, Mr. Durham.
Your health.
Your health, Mr. Durham.
And the health of all ladies. Come, Maurice.
Only Maurice detected the underlying bitterness.
Goodbye, Mr. Durham. Take care drinking the water in Greece.
Are you sleeping at home?
No.
I thought you might want to see your people home.
Not he, Mr. Durham. Nothing I can do or say can make him miss a Wednesday. Maurice is a regular old bachelor. Good night.
My flat's upside down with packing.
Maurice took no notice and came.
Excellent. Your housekeeper has left out the drinks.
I'm going to bed.
Don't overdo the ruins, will you? Oh, and I bought some chlorodyne for the water.
Chlorodyne? Why do you worry so much about my health?
I know I shall die sometime, and I don't want to, nor you to.
No clearer and cleaner experience than death.
Then I'd rather be dirty.
Don't look so serious.
Don't try to be funny, then.
What do you care about in me, My beauty? My hair is falling out. Are you aware?
Bald as an egg by 30.
Perhaps you like me for my mind, for its feebleness. Stop looking at me so damned kindly. You're always so wonderfully considerate.
Have you ordered your taxi?
No, nor got my ticket. I shan't go to Greece at all. Perhaps it'll be as intolerable as England.
Why are you going?
It's a vow. Dear Maurice, you were right. Greece is dead. I came here hoping that it would restore me to the feelings I held for you, which I no longer hold. Instead, I find only a dying light and sterility. Maurice, you cannot fail to have noticed before my departure that I had changed. The truth is that against my will, I have become normal. I cannot help it. Neither can the land of Plato. It started during my illness in London when I noticed just how charming my nurse was and how pleased she was to answer my admiring eye. And I realized how happy normal people make their lives. But don't think I gave in without a struggle. Why else did I vow to come here to Greece? And I came down to see you at home, hoping to persuade myself that our relations were unaltered. Instead, I found I was unable to return your love in the way I had once. And this is why I wept when you kissed me, Maurice. And when you offered to look after me so selflessly, I was overwhelmed by something that I can only describe as revulsion. It seemed so unsuited for a man to minister to another man in that way. Maurice, I'm sorry to be so brutal, but these honest words reveal rather than conceal. And you should know that you will always be my dearest friend, Clive.
Dear Clive, please come back on receiving this. I've looked out your connections and you can reach England on Tuesday week if you start at once. I'm very anxious about you on account of your letter, as it shows how ill you are.
Mr. Durham, you're back! We had no idea. Maurice is away for the night on business. How was Greece? I'm afraid Mother and Ada are in church. Oh, if he had let us know you were arriving, they would have been in to receive you.
It was I who did not let him know. He was expecting me back last week, and I didn't wire him until I reached Forster.
You must tell us all about your trip. Maurice will be so cross that he wasn't here when you arrived. He doesn't think we're capable of anything. You know, I wanted to go to an institute to acquire domestic economy, but he put his foot down when he heard how much the fees were.
Kitty, we're back!
The girls had been incited by Dr. Barry to join an ambulance class, and after dinner, while waiting for Maurice to return, Clive submitted his body to be bound. Ada tied his scalp, and Kitty his ankle.
Well, Mr. Durham, this is a better illness than the last, anyhow.
Mrs. Hall, I wish you would call me by my Christian name.
Indeed, I will. But Ada and Kitty, not you.
I wish Ada and Kitty would too.
Clive, then.
Kitty, then.
Clive.
Ada. That's better. I hate formalities.
So do I.
Morris, on the other hand, is very particular.
Morris is a rip, really. Wow, you're hurting my head.
Wow! Was that a car? Oh, let's go and see. Come, Ada.
Don't go.
I must. Maurice is...
Bother Maurice. If you knew what it is to be in England.
Is Greece not nice?
Horrible. While in Greece, I had to reconstruct my life from bottom. Not an easy task, but I think I've done it.
I'm so thankful you've returned, Clive.
So am I, Ada. So am I.
Where is he? Where have you put him?
Ada, take me for a walk tomorrow.
For a walk?
Yes. See more of me.
Of course.
Clive, what's happened? Are you hurt?
No, we're just practicing our bandaging.
Come out of there, Clive. Why did you let them? Well, I say, he looks well. You look well. Good man, let's have a drink. I'll unpick you. No, girls. I'll do it. Go on, shoo. Shoo.
Good night, Clive.
Clive?
Good night, Ada.
Good night.
So you don't love me?
Maurice, I don't want a row.
I do.
You mustn't.
I want a row, and I'll have it. Sit down. Now, why did you write me that letter? Tell me.
Let go of my hair and I will. I wrote the letter because it was true.
You care for women only, not men.
I care for men in the real sense, Maurice, and always shall.
Yes. Who made you change?
No one. It was a change in me, merely physical.
Evidently that nurse. I wish you told me before. If you had, you'd have been right by now.
Why?
Because I should have made you right.
How?
You'll see.
I've changed.
You're in a muddle. It's part of your general health. I'm not anxious now because you're well otherwise. You even look happy and the rest must follow. You ought to have told me. What else am I here for? You can't trust anyone else. You and I are outlaws.
But I've changed. I
thought I'd changed when Miss Alcott was here, but it all went when I returned to you.
I was never like you.
You are. Don't you remember how I pretend?
Oh, for God's sake, Maurice, hold your tongue. If I love anyone, it's Ada.
Ada?
I take her as a random example.
You scarcely know Ada.
Nor did I know my nurse, or the other women I've mentioned. It's not a special person, it's a tendency.
Who was in when you arrived?
Kitty.
So why Ada and not Kitty?
Oh, don't be stupid. I've changed. This won't spoil anything in our friendship that is real. I like you enormously, more than any man I've ever met. I most enormously respect and admire you.
What were you saying to Ada as I came in? Didn't you hear my car? Why did Kitty and my mother come out and not you?
I won't be cross-questioned.
Why not?
It's character and not passion that's the real bond. You can't build a house on sand, and passion is sand. We want bedrock.
Ada!
What?
Ada! Ada!
No, I'm not dragging her into this.
Out of my way.
Maurice, it mustn't end like this.
Give me the key.
You can't drag a woman in. I won't have it.
Up.
No.
Give it to me.
Ow.
Clive, did I hurt you?
No.
Maurice?
My darling, I didn't mean to.
I'm all right.
God, what an ending. What an ending.
I do rather love her.
I'm done for.
Maurice, are you all right?
I'll see to it.
Are you all right?
Just ragging. Nothing.
Well, he sounds
It's
so...
nothing. I have to go.
Go? I thought we were going for a walk tomorrow.
I have to sleep in town tonight. My sister's expecting me.
I see.
So please give my apologies to your mother. I completely slipped my mind.
Yes.
Maurice will see me out.
Oh. Good night.
Maurice. Maurice. Maurice, let me in. Maurice. I'm going.
He left the darkness within for that without. The leaves fell as he went to the station, The owls hooted, the mist enveloped him. But he was promised a dawn. The love of women would rise as certainly as the sun, scorching up immaturity and ushering the full human day.
Maurice?
What's wrong with you?
Nothing.
There is. I can see it.
Really, Maurice, nothing.
What did he say?
Nothing.
Who said nothing?
Nothing. Only Clive.
Clive? Clive? Mr. Durham to you? You know why he's gone back to town?
No.
Your conduct this evening has been most unsuited.
Oh, but
He was very disturbed by it.
Oh, please, Maurice, don't tell Mother, please.
I suppose there's no need to let her know how depraved you've been.
Oh, and when you see him, Mr. Durham, tell him I didn't mean... Say there's no one whom I'd rather...
Rather what? Go wrong with?
Oh.
I shall not tell him. I shall never see Durham again to tell. You've the satisfaction of breaking up the friendship.
I don't care about that. You've always been so unkind to us, always.
Life's a damn poor show.
In Episode 1 of Maurice by E.M. Forster, dramatised by Philip Osmond, Maurice was played by Alex Wyndham, Clive by Bertie Carville, Alec by Joseph Kloska, and E.M. Forster by John Rowe. Mrs. Hall was played by Christine Kavanagh, Ada by Eleanor Howell, Kitty by Jasmine Callan, Miss Olcott by Amy Hayes, and Dr. Barry by John Dougal. Young Maurice was played by Josh Freeborn, Young Dicky by Piers Stubbs, Mr. Ducey by Simon Treves, and Howell by Sam Dale. Fanshawe was played by Chris Moran, Chapman by Jot Davis, Risley by Ben Wrighton, and Mrs. Durham by Liza Sadovy. The director was David Hunter. Maurice by E.M. Forster, dramatised by Philip Osmond. Episode 2.
Ada, I really am so happy about your engagement.
Thank you, Maurice.
Chapman's a good chap. I really can't think of anyone better.
I'm glad I have your approval on this, at least.
I behaved so badly to you after Clive's visit.
That's all over. I love Arthur now.
Clive never said what I let you think he said. He never blamed you.
I don't care whether he did. It doesn't signify. When did you last see him?
Not for some time.
Those weekends and Wednesdays seem to have quite stopped.
I wish you happiness. For two people who are in love to marry strikes me as very jolly.
It's very kind of you to wish me happiness, Maurice. I hope I shall have it whether I'm wished it or not. I wish you the same.
After Clive's change, Maurice's career went forward. He caught the usual train to town to earn and spend money in the old manor. Meanwhile, he had received letters from Clive, but they always contained the sentence, "We had better not meet just yet." He grasped the situation now. His friend would do anything for him except be with him. Maurice did not cease to love, but his heart had been broken. Why should he go on living? There was really no reason, and yet he had a dreary feeling that he should. He lived on increasingly lonely, but he set himself to acquire new habits and gently to modify his behaviour.
I'd like to offer to pay your fees to the Institute, Kitty.
Thank you, Maurice. Although I expect I'm too old now to properly learn anything.
He cut down his expenses that he might subscribe more largely to charities and supported the social work even of the church. He gave up Saturday golf in order to play football with the youths of the college settlement in South London, and his Wednesday evenings in order to teach arithmetic and boxing to them. He hadn't a god, he hadn't a lover, the two usual incentives to virtue. But on he struggled, because dignity demanded it.
Why isn't that boy here for breakfast? Has he overslept?
How should I know, Ada?
The least he can do is be punctual at mealtimes.
Go and call him, Maurice.
Dickie!
He doesn't even sleep above, so that's no good.
Their neighbour, Dr. Barry, had asked them to put up his nephew for the weekend. The boy that Maurice had neglected to protect at school was now attending the military academy at Woolwich.
Oh, Mr. Durham's engaged to be married. How friendly of his mother to tell me.
Who to, Mother?
Kitty, you will say who toom as a joke too often.
Oh, Mother, get on. Who is she?
Well, you can read the letter for yourselves. Lady Anne Woods, daughter of Sir H. Woods. He met her in Greece. Lady Anne Woods.
Oh, Mother, you've got it wrong again. It says, I will now tell you the name of the lady. Anne Woods, daughter of Sir H.
Really, Mother?
Very romantic, though, meeting her in Greece.
I'll go up and get that boy.
Do, Maurice.
He went upstairs with the tread of an older man and drew breath at the top. Clive might have written. For the sake of the past, he might have.
Dickie?
The boy, who had been to a dance the night before, lay with his limbs uncovered. The lips were parted, the down on the upper was touched with gold, the hair broken in countless glories. The body was a delicate amber.
It's past 9. Breakfast. Wake up.
Oh. They met once more, at midnight.
Ah, there you are.
You didn't have to wait up. I had a latchkey.
I know. Is it a cold night out?
No.
Let me take your coat.
Thank you.
Can I get you anything before I go up?
No, thanks.
I'll just turn off the lights.
Yes.
I'll put the landing light on for you.
Thank you.
This is my room.
Pardon?
I mean, generally.
Oh, I see.
And they've turned me out for you. I'm above, in the attic over this.
Yes.
Well, good night.
Dickie's impulse was to bolt the door after him, but he dismissed it as unsoldierly. The episode burst Maurice's life to pieces. It was lust, pure and simple. Certain obscurities of the past 6 months became clear. For example, a pupil at the settlement. The feeling that can impel a gentleman towards a person of lower class stands self-condemned.
Mr. Hall, you're wanted on the telephone.
Thank you. Hello?
Hello, Maurice.
Clive.
You'll have heard my news.
Yes, but you didn't write, so I didn't.
Quite so.
Where are you now?
Off to a restaurant. We want you to come round there, will you?
I'm afraid I can't.
My young woman's with me. Presently she'll talk.
All right, tell me your plans.
The wedding's next month.
Best of luck.
Now for Anne. I'm Anne Woods.
My name's Hall.
What?
Maurice Christopher Hall.
Mine's Anne Claire Wilbraham Woods. I'm sorry, but I can't think of anything else to say.
No more can I.
You're the 8th friend of Clive's I've talked to this way this morning.
The 8th?
I can't hear.
I said the 8th.
Oh, yes. Now I'll give Clive a turn. Goodbye. By the way, can you come down to Penge next week? It's short notice, but later all will be chaos.
I'm afraid I can't do that very well. I'm more or less busy here, and of course Ada's getting married to Chapman.
So I heard. How about August? Not September, that's almost certainly the by-election, but come in August and see us through that awful Parkview Village cricket match.
After lunch, he chose their wedding present. His instinct was to give a thumper, but since he was only 8th on the list of the bridegroom's friends, this would seem out of place. While paying 3 guineas, he caught sight of himself in the glass behind the counter.
Thank you, sir.
What a solid citizen he looked. Was it conceivable that on last Sunday he had nearly assaulted a boy?
Plenty of seats this time of night anyway.
Oh, there are. Oh dear.
Pardon?
You look like you're carrying the cares of the world on your shoulders.
Yes.
Very Broad shoulders they are too.
Thank you.
Good-looking young man like you shouldn't look so sad.
No. What do you think you're doing?
Come on, I saw the way you were looking at me. Whoa!
You're disgusting.
I didn't mean anything by it. Don't pull the alarm. Please, don't pull the alarm. Now take your time, and remember that this is professional. Nothing you say will ever reach your mother's ears.
Oh, God. It's about women.
I thought so. Well, we'll soon fix that up.
Oh, fix me up, for God's sake. I'm close on done for.
Well, let's have a look.
Shall I?
Yes, no, strip off. Now, when did you catch the beastly thing, huh? At the varsity?
It's nothing as filthy as that. In my own rotten way I've kept clean.
Impotent, eh? Well, let me see. Oh, no. You're all right.
What do you mean, sir, by all right?
Well, what I say, you're a clean man. Nothing to worry about here. Now, you can marry tomorrow if you like. Now, cover up now, it's drafty in here. What put all this into your head?
So you never guessed? I'm an unspeakable of the Oscar Wilde sort.
Rubbish.
Dr. Barry, I can't have explained this.
Now listen to me, Maurice. Never let that evil hallucination, that temptation from the devil occur to you again.
Maurice took a week's holiday in August and reached Penge, according to invitation, 3 days before the Park v Village cricket match. As he drove up through the park, he saw a gamekeeper dallying with 2 of the maids. He stared at the trio, and the girls broke away. The man returned the stare, and then thought it safer to touch his cap. They would meet again when he had passed, and all over the world girls would meet men to kiss them and be kissed. Might it not be better to alter his temperament and toe the line? Shortly before this visit, a new hope had dawned, faint and unlovely. It was hypnotism. As he rode through the park, he felt in his pocket for the card he had procured, on which was printed the address of a certain Dr. Lasker Jones in Wigmore Place. Maybe he should contact the hypnotist. He would decide after his visit. For against hope, he was still hoping for something from Clive.
Clive's out. He sends you his love or something, and we'll be in to dinner.
Oh, Mr. Hall, how delightful to see you.
And for me to see you, Mrs. Durham.
Yes, they haven't got rid of me yet. Dreadful problem with the drains in the Dower House, I'm afraid.
Clive's canvassing. He has at last induced them to induce him to stand. But seriously, it will be a wonderful thing for the poor if he gets in.
Yes, they need a leader, and until they find one, they will suffer.
Let me introduce you to Mr. Maurice, our new rector.
Mr. Maurice, how interesting. But I suppose in your opinion we all want a leader. I quite agree. You all want a leader, I repeat.
Yes, well, I should be going.
Oh, do stop for dinner, Rector.
Oh, I really can't. Good night, Mrs. Durham.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
I'm so sorry Clive's not back. You must forgive him and stay for the cricket match.
Rather depends on some other plans. I might have to go back to London.
Would you like to see your room? Archie, take Mr. Hall to the Russet room. You know Archie London, Pippa's husband?
Of course.
Hello, old chap.
Hello. Has the post gone?
It has, but you can wire that you're staying for the cricket match. Or oughtn't I to interfere?
He stopped up in the room till dinner, fighting with the ghosts he had loved. For the sake of the past, he felt Clive might have been there to greet him. He ought to have known how wretched Maurice would feel. If this hypnotist fellow could alter his being, was it not his duty to try him, though body and soul would be violated?
Come in.
Hot water, sir.
Thank you. Is Mr. Durham back?
Yes, sir.
Just in.
No, about half an hour ago, sir. Shall I draw the curtains?
If you will. And, could you have this wired?
When he went down to dinner, he greeted Clive without a tremor.
Maurice, you look awfully fit. Do you know who you're going to take into dinner? Let me introduce you to that girl over there.
Later in the drawing room, they talked politics.
The truth of it is that radicals tell lies and socialists are mad. So I think I'm bound to get in.
The family ghost again.
Oh, there's the sweetest little hole in the ceiling. Clive, can we leave it?
We shall have to. But I'll call the servants. Pianoforte should be moved. Won't stand much more.
Poor Penge.
Clive was forced to ring a second time.
Sir? Bring a basin, will you, and a duster, and get one of the men to help shift the piano and take the carpet.
The evening had broken up.
To ring twice.
The parlour maid returned with the keeper, as well as the valet.
Ah, Scudder. Lucky you're in the house.
The delay s'explique.
I don't quite follow.
One can never get the attention of the parlour maids when that young man is around. We have our little idiols below stairs too.
Oh.
What? To you. Archie, Maurice, what do you want to do tomorrow? I must go canvassing. Don't come to. It's beyond words, dull. Like to take out a gun or what? Oh, very nice. Scudder, do you hear?
Le bonhomme est distrait.
Scudder, the gentleman will shoot tomorrow. I'm sure I don't know what, but come round at 10.
Yes, sir.
Shall we turn in now?
Early to bed's the rule here, as you know, Mr. Hall.
I'll choose a book if I may.
Of course. Night, old boy.
Left a bit. Yeah, over there. Now, put your end down. Damnation, isn't there anything? Anything?
What did he say? No, he's not talking to us.
Good night.
Good night, sir. Night. Used to come down here a lot, that one. Very close they were, he and the master. Very.
After a few minutes, he threw the book on the bed and brooded over the telegram. Life had proved a blind alley with a muck heap at the end of it, and he must cut back and start again. He opened the curtains and looked out at the rain, banging his head against the cool glass.
Damn! Missed. Can't see things properly in this rain.
Isn't it nearly time for tea, Archie?
I just want to see if we can bag a few more. Come on, Scudder.
Yes, sir.
You coming, Maurice?
I'm going in, old chap.
Ah, here comes the mighty hunter. Mr. Hall there, sir. Telegram for you.
Oh, thank you.
Dinner arrived at 8. So did the politicians. And after dinner, the drawing-room ceiling dripped into basins and saucers. Then, in the russet room, the same weather, the same despair, and the fact that now Clive sat on his bed talking intimately did not make any difference.
The trouble is, politics can't wait, and you happen to coincide with the rush. But look, I'd really like you to stay for the match.
The fact is, I'm hoping to get married.
Maurice? Maurice, I'm awfully glad. Awfully glad. It's the greatest thing in the world. Perhaps the only one.
I know.
Anne guessed, you know. Oh, Maurice. I'm so glad. It's what I've always wished for you. I've thought of you more often than you'd imagine, Maurice. My dear. We were young idiots, weren't we?
You give me your blessing, then?
Oh, I should think so.
Thanks. Think of me tomorrow.
I will.
As for Anne, she may think of me too.
Oh, Maurice. Let me kiss your hand. You don't mind?
Oh, no.
I just wanted to show that I hadn't forgotten the past. Just this once.
All right.
Aren't you thankful it's ended properly?
How, properly?
Well, instead of that muddle last year.
Ah, with you.
Quits and I'll go.
Maurice applied his lips to the starched cuff of a dress shirt.
And you'll come back as soon as circumstances allow?
Of course.
When he had gone, Maurice drew the curtains and fell on his knees. leaning his chin upon the windowsill and allowing the drops to sprinkle his hair. Whom had he called? He had been thinking of nothing, and the word had leapt out. As quickly as possible he shut out the air and the darkness and re-enclosed his body in the russet room.
They've called the broom for us, Hall. Should be round any moment. So pleased I'm going to have a travelling companion.
Yes.
There's that gamekeeper fellow, Scudder, waiting outside for a tip.
Tell him to boil his head. I offered him 5 bob, but he wouldn't take it. Damn cheap.
What are servants coming to? Pippa's had terrible trouble with her monthly nurse. But what can you expect with half-educated people? Still, noblesse oblige and all that.
Drive you want to.
Here, Scudder. Thank you, sir. Took it all right?
Did he, the devil? Why didn't he take mine? I suppose you gave him more.
I did, actually.
Hello. So 5 shillings aren't good enough, so you'll only take the gold?
Mr. Hall, I came to say goodbye and to wish you the best of luck with your engagement.
Can I carry your case, sir?
You're not a house servant, are you?
I'll carry it.
Stick it in there.
Look after him, Archie.
And when I snap my fingers, you will return to the room. All right?
I had a dream when you woke me up. I thought I saw a face and heard someone say, that's your friend. Is that all right? I often feel it. I can't explain, sort of walking towards me through sleep, though it never gets up to me.
Did it get near now?
Jolly near. Is that a bad sign?
Oh, no. I cannot promise a cure. 75% of my patients are of your type, but in only 50% of them have I been successful.
I see.
But you're open to suggestion? Why don't you telephone me next week? In the meantime, it's best that you stay where you are in the country, take exercise in moderation, little tennis, or stroll about with a gun.
Maurice, what a shame. Anne and I are just off electioneering. I wouldn't be going if I'd held out any hopes of you returning. But I'll be back for the match tomorrow.
It will be just you and the rector and I dining this evening, Mr. Hall, so it will be a dinner jacket evening. No need for tales.
That's fine, Mrs. Durham.
Was the luck good?
So.
Mr. Hall, is she very charming?
Very.
Oh, I am convinced she has brown eyes. I'll invite her to Penge. Would you like that?
Darling, we have to go. Bye, Maurice.
Unusual restlessness was on him. He wanted to walk about in the evening and watch the sunset. The evening primroses were expanding in the shrubbery and stirred him by their odours. Clive had shown him evening primroses in the past, but he had never told him that they smelt.
Scudder.
I was wondering whether you wanted to shoot tomorrow, sir.
Obviously not. It's the cricket match.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry I failed to give you and the other gentlemen full satisfaction, sir.
That's all right, Scudder.
Your tip was very generous, sir. Too generous.
I see.
Glad to see you down again so soon, sir.
That's all right, Scudder.
Yes, sir.
But, Mrs. Durham, I understood distinctly from you that all your servants had been confirmed.
I thought so, Mr. Brenius. I did think so.
Mrs. Durham, I go into the kitchen and straight away I discover Simcox, Scudder and Mrs. Wetherall. For Simcox and Mrs. Wetherall I can make arrangements. Scudder is the serious case because I have not time to prepare him properly before he sails.
How do you know he'll communicate even if he is confirmed?
Had I been told which of your servants had been confirmed and which had not, this crisis would not have arisen.
Servants are so inconsiderate. They would tell me nothing.
Yes, well, I must be going back to the rectory.
Good night, Mr. Berenius.
I'll come out with you. Take a last stroll in the garden.
There he is, leaning against the wall.
Awaiting one of the maids, no doubt.
Good night, Scudder.
Good night, sir.
A delicate scent of fruit perfumed the air. It had further to be feared that the young man had stolen an apricot. Maurice returned via the shrubbery, that he might inhale the evening primroses.
Good night, sir.
Good night, Scudder.
They tell me you're emigrating.
That's my idea, sir.
Well, good luck to you.
Thank you, sir. It seems rather strange.
Canada or Australia, I suppose?
No, sir. The Argentine.
Ah, a fine country.
Have you visited it yourself, sir?
Rather not. England for me.
As he walked away, he was followed by a sense of well-being, which lasted until he reached the house. Penge, instead of numbing, seemed more stimulating than most places. That night he slept badly. There must be something better in life than this. If only he could get to it. Tonight, again, he was drawn to the window. Opening it, he leaned out into the night.
Come.
What had he done that for? Below him was the drawing room, and the men who were repairing the tiles on the roof of the bay had left their ladder against his sill. He shook the ladder and glanced into the woods, but the wish to go into them vanished as soon as he could go. What use was it? He was too old for fun in the damp. He returned to his bed. He saw the ladder's top quivering against the moonlit air. A gun was leant against the windowsill very carefully, and someone he scarcely knew moved towards him.
Sir, was you calling out for me? Sir, I know. Had I best be going now, sir? We mustn't fall asleep. Awkward if anyone came in.
You mustn't call me sir. May I ask your name?
I'm Scudder.
I know you're Scudder. I meant your other name.
Only Alec, just.
Jolly name to have.
It was only my name.
I'm called Maurice.
I saw you when you first drove up, Mr. Hall. Wasn't it Tuesday? I did think you looked at me angry and gentle, both together.
Who were those people with you?
Oh, that were only Mill. That were Millie's cousin. Then the piano got wet the next evening and you had great trouble to suit yourself over a book. Remember? Didn't read it. Did you either?
Oh. How did you know that?
Saw you looking out of the window instead. Saw you the next night too. I was out on the lawn.
In all that infernal rain?
Yes, watching. You've got to watch, haven't you? See, I'm not much longer in this country, so I keep putting it.
How beastly I was to you this morning.
No, that's nothing. Excuse the question, but is that door locked?
I'll lock it.
They slept separate at first, as if proximity harassed them, but towards morning they woke deep in each other's arms.
Had I best be going now?
No.
Sir, you have to release me.
Morris, I'm Morris.
But the church has gone for.
Damn the church.
I have the cricket pitch to help roll for the match.
I had this master at prep school. I can still remember walking on the beach with him and him telling me, "Don't! Why did you get out?"
There's the cricket.
No, there's not the cricket. You're going abroad.
Well, we'll find another opportunity before I do.
Did you ever dream you'd a friend, Alec? Someone to last your whole life and you his?
Yeah, I really must go. I can't stay here talking about dreams. I'll catch it with Mr. Ayres. The sun's rising.
Scudder.
Sir?
Alec, you're a dear fellow. We've been very happy.
You get some sleep. No hurry for you, is there?
Don't forget your gun.
I wouldn't forget him. He's been standing guard all night.
Dash. Hang on. Come in.
Morning, sir. Here's your tea. Oh, you've drawn the curtains already, I see. Nice air. Nice day for the match.
Yes.
Is this your socks, sir?
Yes.
Now, what will you wear, sir, I wonder? You'll put on your cricketing flannel straight away, perhaps, rather than the tweed, sir.
All right.
College blazer with them, sir?
No, never mind.
Very good, sir. Sir, in Mr. Durham's absence, the servants feel we should be so honoured if you would captain us against the village.
I'm no cricketer, Simcox. Who's your best bat?
We have no one better than the under gamekeeper.
Then make the under gamekeeper captain.
Things always go better under a gentleman, sir.
Tell him to put me to field deep, and I won't bat first. About 8th if he likes, not first. You might tell him as I shan't come down till it's time.
Very good, sir. Oh, they've moved the ladder at last, I see. About time. Oh, left some mud on the sill.
There you are, Mr. Hall. Mr. Berenius is proving himself to be a very effective bowler for the village.
Really?
The captain has put himself in first for the park. A gentleman would never have done that.
Captain's our best man, apparently.
I'm not feeling that the man's conceited. He's emigrating, you know. Of course, the more energetic members of his class do.
Maurice hated cricket. He disliked playing it with his social inferiors. He might be bowled by some lout.
Looks like I'm in.
It was a new over, so that Alec received first ball. Lifting his eyes, he met Maurice's and smiled.
Lost ball.
Maurice played up too. His mind had cleared, and he felt that they were against the whole world.
Shot, sir.
They intended no harm to the world, but so long as it attacked, they must punish. They must stand wary, then hit with full strength. They must show that where two are gathered together, majorities shall not triumph.
Oh, here's Clive. Clive, these two are doing rather well in spite of throwing caution to the wind. His visit to London has clearly put spirit into your friend.
What's this, Scudder?
My bat, sir. I'm resigning.
I suppose I must bat a minute or two to please people.
Yes, sir.
Clive, how wonderful to see you. Aren't you fagged frightfully?
Meetings till midnight, another this afternoon.
What? Leaving me again?
I really do come back this evening. Then your visit really does begin. I've 100 things to ask you, Maurice.
Now, gentlemen.
We stand rebuked. Anne's cried off the afternoon meeting, so you'll have her company. Oh, look. They've actually mended her dear little hole in the roof of the drawing room. Got rid of the ladder, too.
Yes.
Let us join the Olympic Games. Who's receiving?
I am.
Here we go, then. Oh, bad luck, old chap. Wait for me.
I'm going back to the house.
Well done, Mr. Hall. That was a short-lived partnership.
Yes.
Unlike the one you had with the captain.
Well done, sir. You did us proud.
Thank you, Simcox.
The fact that Scudder didn't stand and applaud with the other servants alarmed him. Was it meant for impertinence? The wrinkled forehead, the mouth, possibly a cruel mouth. Why was the shirt open at the throat like that?
Oh, Mr. Hall, did Clive tell you about our meeting? Oh, but you're not well.
Sun too hot. Should like a little ice. Excuse me. I think I'm going to be...
Millie, we need some ice in the russet room.
He felt better at once, but realised that he must leave Penge. He packed and was soon downstairs again.
The sun caught me, but I had a rather worrying letter too. I think I'd better be in town.
Much better.
Listen, old fellow, I'll motor you to the station.
Courage, Mr. Hall.
We're fielding. We set the village quite a target thanks to your efforts. What's that fellow Scudder scowling about?
What sort of man is he?
He's leaving this month. We shall miss him as regards the dogs, anyhow.
But not in other ways?
I expect we shall do worse. One always does. Hard-working, anyhow, and decidedly intelligent.
Straight?
Scudder? A little too smart to be straight. Wasn't his father the butcher at Osmington? Yes, I think so. Head rotten again.
Putrid.
He had abused his host's confidence and defiled his house in his absence. He had also sinned against his family.
Maury, now for a nice talk. Let's take a walk round the garden. See my tomatoes?
Yes.
Radishes, broccoli, onions. Oh, I really have to talk to that garden boy. He's not weeding between the rows.
There's a telegram come for you.
Come back. Waiting tonight at the boathouse. Penge. Alec.
A nice message to be handed in through the local post office. It contained every promise of blackmail. He had gone outside his class, and it served him right.
Who's it from?
Well, it's about some shares. An investment I have to make.
But all that night his body yearned for Alex. Neither argument nor threat could silence it, so in the morning he telephoned Mr. Lasker Jones.
Mother, I have to go to town.
Well, come and have your breakfast then. There's a letter for you.
Mr. Maurice. Dear Sir, I waited both nights in the boathouse, so please come to the boathouse tomorrow night or the next. Pretend to the other gentlemen you want a stroll. Let me share with you once before leaving Old England, if it is not asking too much. I leave per SS Normania August 29th. I, since cricket match, do long to talk with one of my arms round you, then place both arms round you and share with you. The above now seems sweeter to me than words can say. I am perfectly aware I am only a servant, but never presume on your loving kindness to take liberties, or in any other way. Yours respectfully, A. Scudder, gamekeeper to C. Durham, Esquire.
It was clearly a trap. No doubt there was a duplicate key in the house that Simcox would have, and between them they would extort money from him. Perhaps he should consult a solicitor. Best lie low and hope for the best. After all, the man was leaving the country in 10 days.
More coffee, Maury?
I should go.
You should not resist me.
Damn it all, I don't. I want to be like other men.
You are less suggestible than you were.
Then am I one of your 25% failures?
We do have these sudden disappointments.
What's to happen to me?
I'm afraid I can only advise you to live in some country that has adopted the Code Napoleon.
I don't understand.
France or Italy, for instance. There, homosexuality is no longer criminal. England has always been disinclined to accept human nature.
Look, I've not been straight with you.
Indeed. Mr. Hall?
Since I was last here, I went wrong with a... Well, he's nothing but a gamekeeper. I don't know what to do.
I can scarcely advise you on such a point.
I know you can't, but you might be able to tell me whether he stopped me going into that trance.
No one can be stopped against their will, Mr. Hall.
And I wished, that seems silly, that I hadn't happened to have this letter from him in my pocket. Look, read it as I've told you so much. I feel simply walking on a volcano. He's an uneducated man. He's got me in his power. In court, would he have a case?
He watched as Lasker Jones perused the letter.
I am no lawyer, but I do not think this letter can be construed as containing a menace. It's a matter on which you should consult your solicitor, not me.
Are there such things as men getting them in their power through dreams?
Pardon?
Hypnotize me once more. I feel like I might go off now, I've told you.
Has your confession been exhausted?
It has.
I'm going to burn this letter in the grate.
At home, another letter from Scudder awaited him on the leather tray in the hall.
Sir, I am sailing next week, per SS Normania, It is not fair you never write to me. Why do you say, call me Maurice, and then treat me so unfairly? Mr. Hall, I'm coming to London Tuesday. If you do not want me at your home, say where in London. You had better see me. I would make you sorry for it. I know about you and Mr. Durham. Sir, nothing of note has happened since you left Penge. Cricket seems over. Some of the great trees has lost some of their leaves, which is very early. Has Mr. Berenius spoken to you about certain girls? I can't help being rather rough. It is some men's nature, but you should not treat me like a dog. It was before you came. It's natural to go with girls. I have never come like that to a gentleman before. Simcox says Mr. Hall says to put him in about 8th. I put you in 5th, but I was your captain, and you have no right to treat me unfairly on that account. Yours respectfully, A. Scudder. P.S. I know something.
What was the man up to? The letter was muddle-headed. It was just the sort of letter Maurice might have written himself.
A.S. Yes. Meet me Tuesday, 5 p.m. Entrance of British Museum. Got a chill? It's the weather.
What's all this place?
Old things belonging to the nation. These are all Roman emperors. Yes, it is bad weather. There have only been 2 fine days. And 1 fine night. Look, I'll tell you straight out I enjoyed being with you, if that's the trouble. Is it? I'm not offended about you waking me up or putting me in 5th. That's a mistake.
Your letter. That's no mistake. And you and the squire. That's not one either.
Don't drag in that.
Mr. Hall, you recognise it wouldn't very well suit you if certain things came out, I suppose. I've always been a respectable young fellow until you called me into your room to amuse yourself. It don't hardly seem fair that a gentleman should drag you down. At least, that's how my brother sees it. He's waiting outside now, as a matter of fact. He wanted to come and speak to you himself, but I said, no, Fred, no. Mr. Hall's a gentleman, and can be trusted to behave like one, so you may leave him to me, I said. And Mr. Durham, he's a gentleman too. Always was, and always will be.
With regard to Mr. Durham, it's quite correct that I cared for him and he for me once. But he changed. And now he doesn't care any more for me, nor I for him. It's the end.
End of what?
Of our friendship.
Mr. Hall, have you heard what I was saying?
I hear everything you say. Scudder, why do you think it's natural to care for both women and men?
Eh?
You wrote so in your letter. It isn't natural for me.
Couldn't you get a kid of your own, then?
I've been to 2 doctors about it. Neither were any good.
So you can't?
No, I can't.
Want one?
Not much use wanting.
I could marry tomorrow if I like.
And do you like?
No, it won't do, Mr. Hall. I see your game, but you don't fool me twice. And you'll do better to have a friendly talk with me rather than wait for Fred, I can tell you. You've had your fun. You've got to pay up.
I see.
Surely. I may forget faces, but never a voice. Surely you are one of our old boys. Surely I taught you at prep school. Now wait. Don't tell me your name. I want to remember it. You're not Sandy. You're not Gibbs. I know. It's Wimbleby.
No. My name's Scudder.
It isn't. And I've a serious charge to bring against this gentleman.
Yes. Awfully serious.
I'm awfully sorry, sir. It's so seldom I make a mistake. Wonderful place, the British Museum. Not just a collection of relics, but a place round which one can take the less fortunate.
Yeah?
Ben, we're waiting.
Quite so. My wife and children. Quite so.
Sorry.
Where were you going with that serious charge?
I couldn't say. Don't you worry. I'll never harm you now. You've too much pluck.
Pluck be damned!
I don't know what came over me, Mr. Hall. I don't want to harm you. I never did.
You blackmailed me.
No, sir, no.
Yes, you did.
Morris, listen, I own...
Maurice, am I?
You called me Alec. I'm as good as you.
I don't find you are. God, if you'd spit on me to Mr. Ducey, I'd have broken you. We'd have gone into court for blackmail, after which I'd have blown my brains out.
Killed yourself.
By that time, I'd have known that I love you. Too late. Everything's always too late. Come outside. We can't talk here. I forgot. Your brother.
He's down at Father's. Doesn't know a word. I was but threatening.
For blackmail?
Here, take your note. I don't want it. Never did. I suppose this is the end.
Let's walk.
Unable to part, yet ignorant of what would next come, they strode raging through the last glimmering of the sordid day.
It rained harder than this in the boathouse. It was colder too. Why did you not come?
Muddle.
Beg your pardon?
You've to learn that I'm always in a muddle. I wanted to get away from you without wanting. I knew something was evil, but I couldn't tell what, so I kept pretending it was you.
What was it?
The situation.
I don't follow. What stopped you coming to the boathouse?
My fear. Your trouble has been fear too. Ever since the cricket match, you've let yourself get afraid of me. That's why we've been trying to down one another so. We are still.
I wouldn't take a penny from you. I wouldn't hurt your little finger.
But you're still trying to hurt me in my mind.
Why did you go and say you love me?
Why did you call me Maurice?
Oh. Let's give over talking. Here, shake. I want to go home. No one knows I'm in London. Penge thinks I'm at Father's. Father thinks I'm at Penge. I have to see my brother. He's a trader. He's taken me to the Argentine with him.
I see.
Stop with me.
What?
Sleep the night with me. I know a place.
I can't. I have a dinner party. It's to do with work. I have to leave you now to get changed.
All right.
Meet me another evening instead, any day.
I can't come to London again. Father or Mr. Ayres will be passing remarks.
What does it matter if they do?
What does your dinner party matter?
All right. To hell with it.
And they passed on together in the rain.
Alec, wake up.
Oh. Who'd have thought? First time I ever seed you, I thought, wish I and that one. Just like that. Wouldn't I and him? And it is so.
Yes. And that's why we've got to fight.
There's been enough fighting.
All the world's against us. We've got to make plans while we can.
What do you want to go and say a thing like that for and spoil it all?
We can't allow things to go wrong and hurt us the way they did down at Penge.
Don't talk to me about Penge, where I was always a servant, and Scudder do this, and Scudder do that, and the old lady, what do you think she once said? She said, "Oh, would you most kindly of your goodness post this letter for me? What's your name? What's your name?" Every day for 6 months I come up to Clive's bloody front porch door for orders, and his mother don't know my name. She's a bitch. I said to her, "What's your name? Bugger your name." I wish I had too. And you were just as bad. Whore, my man, and all that. You've no idea how you nearly missed getting me. Near as nothing, I never climbed that ladder when you called. And I went flaming mad when you didn't turn up at the boathouse as I ordered. $2 grand. We'll see. The boathouse was a place I always fancied. Go down there for a smoke before I'd ever heard of you. Unlock it easy. Got the key on me still, as a matter of fact.
We'll meet in your boathouse yet.
No, we won't. I could easily have killed you.
Or are you?
No. Where's my clothes and that gone? I gotta catch a train at once or Fred'll be thinking things.
Let him.
My goodness. If Fred seed you and me just now...
Well, he didn't.
Well, he might have. What I mean is, tomorrow's Thursday, isn't it? Friday's the packing. Saturday the Normania sails from Southampton, so it's goodbye to old England.
You mean we shan't meet again after now?
That's right.
You've got it quite correct.
Why don't you stay in England?
Are you daft? Of all the bloody rubbish I ever heard. Ordering me about again, eh, would you?
Stay with me. We love each other.
I dare say. But that's no excuse to act silly. Stay with you how and where? What'd your mum say if she saw me all rough and ugly the way I am?
She never will see you. I shan't live at home.
Well, where will you live?
With you.
Will you? No, thank you. My people wouldn't take to you one bit, and I don't blame them. And how do you run your job, I'd like to know?
I shall chuck it.
You can't.
You can do anything once you know what it is. I shall get work with you.
What work?
We'll find out.
Find out? And starve out?
No. There'll be enough money to keep us while we have a look around. I've thought out that much while I was awake in the night.
Wouldn't work, Maurice. Ruin us both.
It's a risk. So's everything, and we only live once.
You talk like someone who's never had to earn his living. You trap me with I love you, or whatever it is, and then offer to spoil my career. I've got a definite job awaiting me in the Argentine, same as you've got here. Well, I'm off. Pity we ever met, really, if you come to think of it.
It's all right.
You paid for this room in advance, didn't you? So they won't stop me downstairs.
That's all right, too.
He was back with his loneliness as it had been before Clive, as it was after Clive, and would now be forever. He had failed. He had seen Alec fail. Love had failed.
Mr. Hall! Good afternoon.
Mr. Berenius.
What a surprise. I've come to see my young parishioner off on his travels.
There's no sign of him yet. His family are waiting for him below.
Well, he wasn't on my train. I could hardly believe my eyes when I saw you.
Well, what about you?
I? You will only laugh. I have come to bring him a letter of introduction to an Anglican priest at Buenos Aires, in the hope he will get confirmed after landing. But you, how came you to know so precisely when his boat sailed?
It was advertised.
Ah, I see. I am far from easy about Scudder. He has been guilty of sensuality with women.
Oh dear.
Until all sexual irregularities are penal, the Church will never reconquer England. I have reason to believe that he spent that missing night in London.
Maurice went ashore, drunk with excitement and happiness. The afternoon had broken into glory. White clouds sailed over golden waters and woods. Alec was stopping. He found a garage that was prepared to sell him a motorbike and arrived at Penge several hours later, covered in dust and exhausted from the drive. He entered the estate at its lower end through a gap in the hedge, and it struck him how derelict it was, how unfit to set standards or control the future.
Alec! Alec!
Had he miscalculated? Alec lay upon piled-up cushions, just visible in the last dying of the day.
Alec. So you got the wire?
What wire?
The one I sent off this morning to your house, telling you... Excuse me. I'm a bit tired, one thing and another. Telling you to come here without fail. And now we shan't be parted no more. And that's finished.
Will you be coming up soon, Clive?
Yes. I just want to correct the proofs on the leaflet.
Yes. I suppose that's important.
I'll be up soon. Don't worry, I won't disturb you.
I don't mind.
I'll sleep in the dressing room if I'm late.
Please yourself. Don't forget we have church in the morning. You are still coming?
Yeah, we need the rector's support.
Good night, then.
Night. Now, Mr. Clive Durham appeals for your vote in the forthcoming election as an upholder of tradition. Of decency and tradition. A magistrate on the local bench, he is... Yes, what is it, Simcox?
Mr. Hall, sir.
Maurice? Bring him in.
He refuses, sir.
Maurice,
Good to see you back. I hope you're...
I've only a few minutes, Clive.
Well, Anne will be furious with me if you don't stay. I hope nothing's wrong.
Pretty well everything. What you call?
My advice is sleep the night here and consult Anne in the morning.
I don't want your advice.
Where a woman is in question, I would always consult another woman, particularly when she has Anne's uncanny insights.
I'm in love with your gamekeeper.
Mrs. Ayres.
No, Scudder.
Shh. What a grotesque announcement.
Most grotesque. But I felt after all I owe you, I ought to come and tell you about Alec.
You gave me to understand all that was behind you. That night in the russet room.
When you brought yourself to kiss my hand.
Don't allude to that. Maurice, resist this.
As I said before, I'm not here to get your advice, nor to talk about ideas either. I'm flesh and blood if you'll condescend to such low things.
Yes, quite right. I'm a frightful theorist, I know.
And will mention Alec by his name.
If Alec is Scudder, he is in point of fact no longer in my service, or even in England. Go on, though. I'm reconciled to reopening the subject if I can be of the least help.
Maurice blew out his cheeks and began picking the flowers off a tall stalk.
I have shared with Alec.
Shared what?
All I have. And that includes my body. Alec slept with me in the russet room that night when you and Anne were away.
Maurice. Oh, good God.
Also in town? Also...
But surely the sole excuse for any relationship between men is that it remain platonic.
I've come to tell you what I did. And what he has done. He sacrificed his career for my sake. Without guarantee, I'll give up anything for him. I don't know if that's platonic of him or not, but that's what he did.
How sacrifice?
I've just been to see him off. He wasn't there.
Scudder missed his boat. These people. Maurice, quo vadis? You're going mad. May I ask whether you...
No, you may not ask. You belong to the past. I'll tell you everything up until this moment and not a word beyond.
Maurice, I care a little bit for you, you know, or I wouldn't stand what you've just told me.
Maurice opened his hand. Luminous petals appeared in it.
You care for me a little bit, I do think. But I can't hang my life on a little bit. You'll welcome me to your house and take endless bother to marry me off because that puts me off your hands.
Look, Maurice.
Look, he's mine in a way that shocks you. But why don't you stop being shocked and attend to your own happiness?
Who taught you to speak like this?
You, if anyone.
Look. Why don't you dine with me next week in my club? Yes, this is ridiculous. Your little set speech convinces neither yourself nor me. Next Wednesday, say at 7:45. Dinner jacket's enough, as you know. Maurice!
To the end of his life, Clive was not sure of the exact moment Maurice departed, leaving a little pile of petals of the evening primrose on the ground. With the approach of old age, he grew uncertain whether the moment had yet occurred. Out of some eternal Cambridge, his friend began beckoning him.
Oh, Lord, there's a Dean! Drive on!
But at the time, he was merely offended at a discourtesy. He did not realize that he should never cross Maurice's track again. He waited a little, then returned to the house.
What was it, darling?
Nothing. Mr. Ayres thought he saw poachers.
Are you coming to bed?
Soon.
In Episode 2 of Maurice by E.M. Forster, dramatised by Philip Osmond, Maurice was played by Alex Wyndham, Clive by Bertie Carvell, Alec by Joseph Klosker, and E.M. Forster by John Rowe. Mrs. Hall was played by Christine Kavanagh, Ada by Eleanor Howell, Kitty by Jasmine Callan, Dickie by William Ellis, and Dr. Barry by John Dougal. Anne was played by Emma Noakes, Mrs. Durham by Liza Sadovy, Mr. Berenius by Simon Treves, Archie by Anthony Glennon, Mrs. Ducey by Rachel Bavidge, and Lasker Jones by Jot Davis. The director was David Hunter.